see we have a bunch of folks who've joined. I see we have a bunch of folks who've joined already, and I know more will be joining in the next few minutes. But I never want to punish the people who are punctual, so I think we should get started right away. And big thanks to everyone who has joined us and for the work that you all do every day as defense attorneys. Just a quick introduction before we kick off our panel. My name is Chattha. I spent many years as a public defender before becoming the elected district attorney of San Francisco. I now lead the Criminal Law and Justice Center at the University of California, Berkeley School of Law. We're a research and advocacy hub that does a wide range of work, class action, litigation, direct service work, partnerships with government agencies around issues like police accountability, civilian oversight, as well as more traditional scholarship and research. One part of our center's focus has been ensuring transparency, guardrails, and first principles when it comes to the integration of artificial intelligence, other emerging technologies in the justice space. And we've noticed that right out of the gate, as is not surprising, law enforcement and prosecutors have much more access to generative AI and other emerging technologies. All too often, public defenders are sort of forced to simply respond to what they see in discovery in cases without having the tools to be proactive themselves in processing discovery or building defenses or presenting evidence. Devere, who's the lead researcher at the center that I lead, has developed this collaboration with a number of different tech service providers to help make their products and their tools accessible to public defenders. The goal is not for public defender offices or attendees to commit to any particular product, but rather to be exposed to offerings and to be aware of the landscape that is changing very rapidly and which is increasingly providing really, really cool tools to help make public defense work more efficient, more tech-centered, and frankly, more competitive with what you have to deal with incoming in your caseload every single day. So with that, I'm going to pass the microphone to Devere, who can say a little bit more about this particular project and this partnership with BEARISTER AI. And I'm excited to listen and learn along with the rest of you. Thank you so much for joining us, to the folks from BEARISTER. And Devere, I'll pass the mic to you now.
Thank you, Tessa. This is very exciting. Thank you for everyone who joined. This is the first collaboration with one of the new exciting startups that is making a product specifically for public defenders. Avneet will tell you all about it. He's himself a public defender. And this is part of a bigger project that we're hosting on our website aimed at helping public defenders getting started and understanding the field of AI tools that is relevant for them. You can find on the Criminal Law and Justice Center website the portal that we developed specifically for public defenders interested in AI. And I will stop here. This is the first meeting. We hope to have many more. And Avneet, our first guest, will take it away from here. Feel free to use the chat and the Q&A options. And if there's something urgent, I will direct Avneet's attention. If not, we'll answer everything at the final 10-15 minutes of the presentation. Thank you. And Avneet, the floor is yours.
Thank you. Thank you, Devere. Thank you, Chattha, for having us. Thank you to BC Berkeley Law for allowing us to present. This is something I'm very passionate about. And so, I'll get started with BEARISTER AI. It is something I created. However, it was not in my capacity in my day job. It's just something I started doing in my own time and something in my personal capacity. And I'm really excited to where it's come to now. I also have my CTO, Chief Technology Officer, Apurva Gupta, online with us. If anyone has any questions about our tech stack or how our technology exactly works, he's much more knowledgeable about that. He's a genius when it comes to AI and technology, so I'll turn it over to him at that point. But getting right into it, my hope and our hope at BEARISTER AI here is that by the end of the session, you literally wish you had this tool a year ago or you're start using it. And so, that's what a really fundamental thing is. We want to make it so that you have accessible technology. Right now, the technology that's out there is it should be affordable, but it's rather not. You either have to pay tons of money for privacy, or you have to use an affordable tool that essentially captures all your information and all your clients' information. So this is just a little AI generated picture we made just to play on Barrister AI, but also the Cal Bear, and at the same time in the back, just talk about how much stuff can cost. Um, but the way our system works is pretty simple. You put in a natural language question, and what I mean by that is, oftentimes when we go to law school and attorneys go to law school, you have to learn how to do Boolean searches and really get good at figuring out where to put all the different terms and connectors in order to get some of the right cases. If you're not good at that, then you may not be great at legal research or knowing exactly how to click on the right links in Westlaw or Lexis. We want to make it easier. Time is the currency nowadays. And so when your caseload's building up, when other things are building up, you really don't have the luxury to be doing all that. And you're not getting paid by the 6/10 of an hour like Big Law is. So what we did is Apurva created a model in which you can type in a simple question, and we'll go through a demo in a little bit. You just type it in. It does a semantic search. It goes through all the case law that we have. We used Court Listener, which has a database of all the cases that are published in all the court systems, state and federal. We also use GovInfo, and those are federal. That's a federal case system where it has access to congressional statutes and other sources through there. And then afterwards, it returns an answer for you. That answer, depending on which feature you use, may be just the cases, or it could be the cases with some additional information for you in our AI model. And then we have some other tools that we're developing just because we do believe that affordability is very important to attorneys across the floor, across the board. And so we want to give you as many AI related tools as possible. And honestly, even if they're not AI related, but they're just good, helpful tools, is what we're trying to develop at the end of the day, and be on the front end of emerging technology. So for us, these are our principles. Principles is that everything should be encrypted. We don't store or log any of your data. We don't want it. I'm not. When Apurva and I first got together, we weren't in this to gather everyone's data so we can sell it and make money on that. We're not here to market or partner with anyone for marketing purposes. To the extent that we have data, it's simply to know where the model is breaking and where we need to fix our website. That's basically it, right? So people often email the two of us and like, hey, this is what's going on today. So can you please fix it? And that's the extent that we want information. But I don't want to know what your clients are doing, what's going on. Apurv doesn't want to know either. No one on our team really wants to know any of that information. Our models do not train on it. Even the large language models we use, they're not going to get access to it to the extent that we can prevent it. They don't train on it. And we, have agreements in place with Microsoft and Microsoft partners to make sure they don't train on it. We signed a business associates agreement to make sure that everything's HIPAA protected. So, and I've had mentors that are that have been in county organizations that are no longer there, but they were in the past. And I have a lot of mentors in the tech space who've told me what we should be building and how we should be building it to make sure it's privacy oriented. And that's our guiding principle. And the last thing is, I recognize AI hallucinates, and Apurva recognizes it as well. And we want to prevent that from happening to the extent that we can. And so we are making sure that every answer that comes from our models is from a directed source. It is grounded in reality, and it's not just making up its own answers from something that the AI trained on. So to get into it, this is the slide that I meant to show, guys. So to get into it, these are the three things that we'll be talking about. We're going to be talking about our research model, which is just where it combines case law and some AI. we have a general case law model, and we have a transcription model. So just to get into it, we'll get into a demo right away. And so in this demo, we're going to ask a simple question. And this is often what we see public defenders asking or attorneys asking about, help me understand this particular field. And so here I asked a question about Watson and a client being charged with Watson murder, but they themselves don't have any prior DUIs. And you can see here the AI spits out an answer pretty quickly. And that's our goal. Again, time is honestly the biggest currency these days, and also getting access to this technology for cheap. So in this, it spits out this answer pretty quickly. It gives it to you on the right-hand side in the document format. At the bottom, you can see you can download it as a PDF, you can download it as a Word document, or you can copy and paste it. And you can also review it on the left-hand side in order if you want to keep asking follow-up questions. So here, we'll go through the document and the answer, and you can see it does an analysis of everything. This might have been a little fast, I'm sorry. But it does a thorough analysis of everything, tells you generally what the case law says, and then, can give you tips on where you should go next. So here we're going to take the same question and we're going to put it into our case law database. And what you'll see here is it's going to spit out an answer right away. And that was literally right away. I did not speed that up. That was not meant to be sped up or anything like that. Approved model is very, very fast. And here you can see it gives you 10 cases to start off your initial research at. While ultimately our goal is to replace everything Westlaw does and make everything super affordable, at the current start, we're only 3 months into our our platform launching. We put this out in December, and from now and up to now, we have a system where you can get cases really, really fast. And our hope is in the next 3 months, we can make this exactly like Westlaw, where you'll have key flag citations, you'll have everything as a HTML format, so you can read it on your phone. Right now, if you click on these cases, it'll come up as a PDF file, and you'll read what was actually in the books back in the day. So that's where we'll be going in the next 3 months, but still you can see that the cases are generated pretty quickly. And I'll talk a little bit more about why we're so confident in these results in a couple slides, but just for now, that's how it looks like. While I have this frozen right here, I do want to say on the left-hand side, what you'll see is a history of your searches, a history of what you've been asking, so you can go back and ask questions. If you have questions or you didn't get around to, finishing your research, you can go back to where you picked up from. But again, the main thing is having guardrails in place, right? And so that's where I fundamentally wanted it to be something that we're not taking the attorney out of the role of what their job is. And attorneys are always in the loop and always involved. I truly don't believe AI is ever going to replace attorneys, especially attorneys in courtrooms. What we do is uniquely and fundamentally human element to our job and to our advocacy. And so from there, I asked it a question one day just to see if our guardrails were working. Here, I wanted to see, would it give me an answer if I asked it, my client's charged with murder? It didn't say whether it's first or second degree. The offer is a voluntary manslaughter. And then I just picked high term, 11 years. Should my client take the deal? So here, I'm actually really proud of where our model has come to. And so it goes through a sentencing analysis of what murder is. And you can see here, it's telling you, well, it could be first degree, it could be second degree because I was not specific. And from there, it also talks about, are there firearm issues, right? And so it's really thinking about all the possible options that could come into play on a murder case. We see this regularly as attorneys. And so it goes to that first level of analysis. And then the second level of analysis, right, is that, hey, what's a 192 at the end of the day? Well, it gives you the sentencing triad for a 192 from 3 years to 6 years to 11. And then it talks about the firearm enhancements. It talks about considerations. But what I'm really happy about at the end of the day, it doesn't give you the answer. It gives you a guiding thought process. And that's what I'm really happy about, because the AI should not be replacing the attorney's job. It should not be replacing the client. And actually, what it says here is that it ultimately comes down to what the client wants to do. And as attorneys, our job is to tell the client and empower the client what they should be doing. We shouldn't be taking that out of their hands. But sometimes attorneys need to, think about what are all the guiding principles, what should I be thinking about, and this helps you uh, go along those lines. Also, one thing we've noticed, Apurva and I've noticed, there's been a brain drain across government institutions over the last, I want to say, 6 years now, COVID, post COVID, basically. And so what's led to is institutional knowledge of attorneys that are 20, 25 years in are no longer there. Even attorneys that are 15 years in are no longer there. And so Apoorv and I got together a couple months ago, and we decided to build a model in which, for law firms, for I'm talking about small criminal defense firms, or medium-sized criminal defense firms, or even just government agencies, we call it our K2 model. Probably gonna have to change the name of it later, but we're just calling it K2 in-house. And basically what it is it's a model in which it just remembers locally, that's on your system, not ours, your system, what your memory is, it's learning along with you. It's not training on anything, it's just learning along with you and trying to become smart as you. And then that way, it's going to share that information with your colleagues across the office, right? So if you find an answer that's really helpful, like this one, then you can give it a thumbs up, and that'll get shared in the memory bank of your office, of your law firm, or whatever. And then that way, the overall answers will become much better. Again, this isn't training the AI model. It's just saying this answer is a good answer. We should retain this answer and then use it over and over again until someone says it's a bad answer, right? And a good answer can become a bad answer later on if the case law changes or statutes are updated. But again, we're not training it. It's simply just remembering that this is a good answer and then storing it or on your local system. So should you ask the question again in the future, it'll have something to work, a reference. So I'll keep going. One thing, again, I keep talking about it, but time is currency, especially when you have a caseload of 50 plus cases in felonies, of 100 plus cases in misdemeanors. But what I've noticed is a lot of private attorneys also carry a lot of cases because that's how they have a low retainer. They do it through prelim, and they don't really provide the best service because they don't have adequate training, they don't have adequate resources. They also are trying to plead out 5 different clients on the same day. So they're not doing a thorough analysis. And the truth be told, Barrister AI came to my mind when I once saw an attorney who was very ill prepared to do their job. It was a private attorney, and the client ended up getting remanded and hurt at the end of the day on a case that should have never had it, that should have had bail set. The judge set it at no bail. And when I saw that, I just thought to myself, it would be so nice if this man had spent 30 seconds, 10 seconds typing into like something and getting a better argument. It could have done, you know, a much better job than what he did. And that's where I was like, he couldn't have done that because the tools at the time either were too expensive to do it or our ethical guidelines don't allow us to use them. And the sad thing is a lot of attorneys are actually using ChatGPT. A lot of attorneys are using these public things. And that's where I wanted to help solve a problem. And so every time I came home from work, I hopped on with the Purv, I hopped on with our team, just trying to figure this out. So quick answers. Max exposure, I just typed in PC 484 petty theft as an example, just to see what it would say at the end of the day. And a lot of this is just me testing it, right? This is a lot of our quality assurance. It's either me testing it when we first designed it, and now it's our. I have a colleague who's not online right now. Her name's Sarah Silverstein. She is our chief research officer, and she does the daily testing of our model, and she sends the results back to Apur with a grade on them. And so This is one question that I had just asked it one day, and this is the answer that it gave out. So it goes through a full analysis of petty theft, and then also grand theft. And if you have a grand theft, how you can get it down to petty theft. And it's all about the value, right? It could also go through collateral consequences. This is supposed to have a DUI on it or a different one. Let's see if the next, here we go. Sorry about that. Uh, so here we're going to ask it a question. What are the what are the consequences of a VC 43152B, which is a DUI? And it's going to go through a full analysis. Sorry, this is supposed to be a little faster here, but this is our older model that was doing it. It should spit out a full analysis. Here we go. And if you notice at the end, it's also going to give you the consequences for if they get a felony. And so again, you're just telling it generally a DUI, but you're not giving it any specifics. And that's where I'm really happy that it's coming out with good results. And given the speed and accuracy of these results, we feel like attorneys can use this product in the courtroom. They can use it on the go. They can use it almost wherever they want. If they're walking into a jail, walking out of a jail, and they have a question on the top of their mind, they can use it, ask the question, and they can come back to it later, right? We wanted to seamlessly incorporate it into workflows rather than be something we impose on you and you're trying to figure out how can you actually make it happen for you. This is the same one. Sorry about this. Here we go. So the next one I want to talk about is our case file system. This one is something where it's akin to ChatGPT and Claude and other AI LLM websites where you can have a project folder, right? We called it a case file folder because we work on cases and our files grow exponentially bigger. So here we're going to walk through a little bit of how we create it. You're going to see if you go to the left-hand side, new case file, you can type it in, whatever name you want to give it. I was already thinking about Watson when I was creating this. So I just said people use Watson. You can give a descriptor so you know exactly what the case is about in the future. You can do whatever you want with it, whether it's the charges or it's the name of the client or anything. You can create it from there. You're going to see it again pop up right there. Once it pops up, you're going to see here. Oh, sorry. For someone who's supposed to be good with technology. There we go. So what you'll see here is you can upload files and then you just click on the upload button and you can upload them. You can ask it anything. I haven't talked about this yet, but we have a transcript. We have a speech to text button. So again, my idea when I thought of this one was we're on the go, we're walking around. We don't really have time to type everything out. We might have files in our hands and we only have one free hand. And so we can quickly ask the question. It'll type it out for us. And then from there, we can just hit send and then get a response. Here, you also see recent chats right there. Those recent chats is basically where history of any chat you ask for that particular case will go. And so that way in the future, if you're like, well, I remember on this case, I asked a specific question about what the consequences were for this particular charge or asked the maximum punishment, well, you would have it all right there for you and it wouldn't go anywhere. And again, the goal is to make everything convenient as possible for the user. And so you can ask it a question as you type it out here. What's the max for DUI? Murder. Okay, Watson. It'll give you the sentencing scheme right there. Just go through it. And again, here, it's not telling you, it's simply just giving you an answer, right? It's giving you that's a Watson murder. It's giving you that's 15 to life. And so it's telling you just the general considerations. It's telling you how the theory of Watson murder works. It's about implied malice. And then we must be looking at to avoid that. That's the best way to win a Watson murder, right? And so from there, The next one feature, unfortunately, it's down today, so I didn't get to make a video about it, but it will be back live in the next few days, and it's our transcription model. So what is this? Basically, one problem that I've noticed a lot of attorneys run into, and again, as Chessa said, um, we the government gets everything very fast and very easily, and they always have it first. The other side of the bar doesn't. And so that's where I wanted to solve that problem. There's already platforms that are doing it at a higher cost. But again, we wanted to bring that price down. Also talk about how we were able to do it a little bit, but we have a transcription model that does everything, transcribes videos and says it, and has speaker analysis. So it's kind of what Justice Text does. However, if anyone's used that particular platform, it's great, it's amazing, but it may not be most affordable. We wanted to kind of change that and make it more affordable. There's other platforms that do it also, but then they go and they do it for cheaper, but then they train on everything that's provided. And then the last thing, we right now are again just 3 months in, so we don't have an iOS app. However, we do want this to be accessible on the phone. So what we did is we created a web app. So if you go into your phone, any web browser you have, you click on the share button at the bottom, you can add our icon to your home screen. And once you do, you have our version of a mobile app set up on your phone. And that way, whenever you're on the go, you can actually ask the questions and get a real iOS app or Android app like experience. The best part about this is whenever we push an update on our side, you get the update without having to do anything. It pops up on the update just happens naturally. Whereas if you had an actual app on your iPhone, you'd have to click on update, you'd have to go into the App Store to update it or have automatic updates set up. So why us, right? Again, speed, affordability, hallucination. We have zero hallucinations. The other thing is Apoor's model. Again, I said he was an AI genius earlier. He's been working on this stuff, and while I just think about how we can make this incorporate easily into the workflows of attorneys, into the workflow of students, into everyone, what Apoor thinks about is how can I get the most accurate answers mathematically all the time. And so the model he's designed, when you use natural language, right, which most of us do, because we're not as good at terms and connectors on Westlaw or Lexis. While using simple language, we get 40% better results on LexisNexis and Westlaw, and also the cases that are 70% better when you read them, they're 70% more on point. So one thing we're really proud about is we got nominated and selected as a strategic partnership for Microsoft startups. And this has enabled us to tap into resources that we didn't have access to before. And we wanted to put that forward, pay it forward to everyone to use our platform. And what's that led to is a $250,000 dollars that they gave to us to build on their platform. And that's for the next 2 years. So in turn, what we've done is we made everything on our platform free for the next year. We made it for free, so anyone here can go in today, sign up for free, use whatever version plan you want. You do have to enter a credit card, unfortunately. That's just how our backend is set up, but everything's free. Use whatever you want. We won't charge you. We want you to test everything. We want you to push it to the limits. We literally want you to tell us when it breaks. If you put in a support ticket, it'll come to Apoorv and I, and we'll get back to you as soon as possible. I work in the day, but we do have someone that's responding regularly. And so we'll get back to you and we'll try to figure out and fix the issue right away. But we also want to know when it gives a bad answer. So if you want to do a thumbs up, thumbs down, that'll come to us. If you want to email us and let us know if you're having a tech issue specifically, we'll get back to you. Also, if you just want a particular feature that we didn't think about, email us. One thing Apoorv and I want to do is build tools that actually work for you guys and work for everyone rather than building tools we think will work. The reality of the current tools and platforms out there, they're engineered by people who have never done a job of an attorney. So they're engineering tools for attorneys without fully understanding the workflows. but you guys are the ones doing it. So we want you to tell us what the problem is, what tool you think would fix it, and we're more than happy to sit down with the meeting. Poor is more than happy to sit down with the meeting with y'all, and then build the tool and that in the proper place. We have a team of engineers that are dedicated to this. We have so many people that when I mean so many, we're a team of six in reality, but all six of us are dedicated to building something and want to do it in a way that helps the community, helps society. Because the reality is, if people get better representation in court, then the world is a better place at the end of the day because we prevent more wrongful convictions, and that's the last thing I ever want. It scares me to think that the government can just charge someone with a crime and then get away with it, because that is a crime in and of itself, and that's the last thing I want. I also want people to have very effective assistance counsel, right? Like I don't want IAC, I don't want IAC for anyone, and that's where I want to help out. If I can get people cheaper tools, that's how Barrister AI came out, and that's what we want to promote. So again, free for the next 12 months. Please sign up. Let us know what break it. Apurv said if you break it, that's his favorite thing because then he has something to fix. So please, go ahead and break the website. Um, we do have things that we're working on, and so I want to share that. We will be prioritizing building out an iOS and Android app. I've also noticed a lot of people are scared of using PowerPoint in a day where PowerPoint's been around for quite some time now, and that's because it's tough. But that's where we can build a closing argument PowerPoint assistant tool. I say closing argument, but you really can use a PowerPoint at almost any phase in the trial. So this isn't going to be super AI led. You can do it. I wouldn't advise it. What I would advise is you go in, use my idea for the closing argument tool is basically you go in, you can build it out and get recommendations on how to make things better. So for example, people don't know, sometimes have too small font and it can say, you got to make this bigger. Hey, it's too wordy, break it up. Things like that is how I'm envisioning it. And you can do it alongside. You can also upload a PowerPoint and give you suggestions and recommendations to change. Another thing is I strongly believe the best attorneys and the best people out there are people who are up to date on cases and the news. The reality is politics does affect directly the criminal justice system. I don't even want to say the criminal system. It's just the criminal justice. It is the criminal system, and that's where we want to be able to build a news feed out, so you can go in the app, even if you're not trying to ask it a question, you'll get up to date information on politics and also technology because believe it or not, it's becoming more and more involved in our daily lives. And so we want everyone to be up to date on different emerging tools that you could be using. Apoorv is also going to start publishing research when I mean legal research, I mean legal tech research on how our models are coming about, what we're seeing. He's writing a research paper right now on how he's developing our semantic search model and things like that. We're also going to have a good cop, bad cop assistant in K2. Like I mentioned earlier, we have an in-house memory system that firms and organizations will have access to. Well, in doing so, if you tell it that there's a bad officer involved in a case, right, it'll remember that. And in the future, if you ever have a case with that same cop, it'll flag it for you and be like, hey, by the way, this is something you should think about in the context of your answer. And lastly, a jury selection tool. The prosecution always has an IO next to them. They always have one advantage over any attorney, any defense attorney, because we're not all OJ Simpson with an all-star legal team where we have 10, 15 lawyers, right? We have Johnny Cochran, and we have seven others. We don't have that advantage on the defense side. And so therefore, in the jury selection assistant tool, it would help you basically, it's not going to recommend jurors, but if you feed it in a good or bad juror, it'll give you just, using your answers, a color-coded way of saying, okay, this is jurors you like. So when you're looking at the screen, you can see 9 out of 12 green boxes and also other features that'll be involved in it. But this is just some of the tools that we're thinking about and trying to build and things that we want to do in the next, I would say, 6 to 9 months. But again, if you guys have a better tool in mind, you have better features in mind, let us know, and those will take priority over some of this stuff. This is just stuff that I think it would be fun. Apoorv thinks would be nice. But again, We want to build for y'all. So please tell us, and we will prioritize features that are better and more incorporated into your workflows. So thank you so much. We appreciate you guys listening to us. We appreciate everyone joining. Again, I'm so thankful to UC Berkeley Law. I'm thankful to Chessa. I'm thankful to Devere for having us, for reaching out. Tanya also reached out first. Thank you so much. We can't have done it without UC Berkeley. We also want to be thankful to Microsoft for giving us a strategic partnership funding, because that's going to allow us to really empower us for the next 2 years. We hope, honestly, that everyone uses it and breaks it in the next year, and we can keep going the year after. Still keep it free is ultimately our goal, but we'll just see. But thank you so much. And again, feel free to email us. You just go to barrister.ai. I should have put the link here, but I didn't. And you can click on the support, or you can just email me at Avneet@barrister.ai. Thanks so much.
We have a few questions in chat. Can you see that?
Yes.
And people should feel free to send more questions if you have them.
So
I would just like to answer like the questions on the technical bit of it. So, sorry, like, hi everyone. I'm Apoor. I'm the CTO of Barrister AI. Thank you, Avneet, for such a nice session, and thank you, Chesa, for his introduction in the beginning. I would just like to answer the technical side of the things. So first thing that I'm seeing over here is about how we are storing the data. So like normal usage metrics, they just generally get stored. Who is the user at what time, like the technical things that we need for our improvisation of the product funnels. Other than that, most of the interactions with the system are encrypted. They are end-to-end encrypted. So we don't get to see what kind of interactions are, or like what kind of questions you asked, or what query, what result you used for your work. So everything is end-to-end encrypted. It is unlike present LLM interfaces where they upfront tell you that that data will be used for training purposes. Another thing that I'm seeing over here is are there hyperlink for references? So yeah, we are building a citation generator. It like as Avneet mentioned that there will be like more things to it related to Westlaw and LexisNexis. So it's like they also have certain some similar features like that. So we are working on these kind of citation generators. But one thing for sure is, which is again in one of the questions that is asked in Q&A, where you are saying how we are maintaining 100% citation accuracy, is because we are not using an LLM to get the case citations. It's something which is fundamentally very different. It's called a vector search or a semantic search, which is not a large language model. So the case law model that that Avneet presented, it's not an LLM. So it might not give you a case which you require to solve the problem for, but if it is giving you a case, that case has must have happened at some point and some point in time in history. So it's a validated case law that is being taken from a credible source. And we are like more than happy if someone reaches out to us in a feedback saying that this case law is not relevant, because relevancy might be a question, but that case will is a verified case that has happened in the judiciary system at some point in time. um, I guess I've answered. One is, can you explain more about how E2 Engage works in your model that prevents a user's input from being accessible in cloud? So basically, like we use databases to store data, right? Wherever we are, and we already know what fields are basically storing the chat interactions, and we are encrypting those interactions upfront. Um, Input output data preserved outside user's device. So like outside users device, from our end it's protected, but if someone gets access to the device and then by the interface of the user's interface they get to see it, then that is obviously that there is no way that we can make it safe. So this is um
Yeah, and
yeah.
then I just want to add to that is like we are working with our engineers, right? But also, thankfully, we have Microsoft engineers that are going to that are involved. They're already advising us, but they're going to be more involved in the next coming months, who are making sure and helping us. Build out this platform on Azure, which is Microsoft's version of AWS, on how everything remains encrypted as we scale. So that way, right now, everything's encrypted, everything's safe, and people can't get in. But that being said, we're as we scale, things need to be adjusted and moved around, and we're going to make sure working with Microsoft that it remains encrypted. But what Apurva is saying is like if someone steals your device and opens up the app, there's nothing we can do about that, right? But everything that we can do, we are going to do. And thankfully, because of the Microsoft funding, we aren't at a position where we're like, oh, well, it's too expensive to do it, right? With the Microsoft funding, we can actually scale a lot. And today we had a meeting with them where we are not even using the full potential of our funding at this present moment. So as we go up, we will continue to do it. I don't know how deterministic are legal research results. I don't fully understand by what you mean by deterministic.
I think I can explain, hopefully, and if I'm not explaining correctly, then the person asking can correct me. But basically, I think the question is when you ask a question for the when you wanna get like legal research done with the app, and you ask a question, will you get the exact same answer every single time, or will the answer randomly change from time to time, even if you ask exactly the same legal question for the research part?
Okay, fair. So on the semantic case search, it should never change. On the portion where some AI is incorporated, the answer is a little bit more so in terms of it won't change the analysis, right? So, uh, for example, I had asked it the murder question about my client's offer to set a high term voluntary manslaughter. That one, for example, the answer won't change. It won't change in terms of like it never should it ever tell you to take the offer, right? It should still go through a sensing scheme. Now, the one thing it can change because that the text is generated by AI, the one thing that can change there is like some of the words, right? So the way it might like phrase a particular sentence might change slightly, but overall the content is still the same. So um, I can't really give you a number, and I would hesitate to give a number. But what I would say, I'm very confident that if you ask the same question over and over again, you would see 99% of the time. Probably, now I'm giving a number, but the reality is that almost always it will give you the same exact answer, roughly. How useful
In terms
is
of
Barrister
substance,
AI? Excuse me?
so in terms of substance, so like the bottom line
Yeah,
will be the same, the wording might change. Okay.
exactly. How useful is Barrister AI? So that's a great question. We uh, because most of our users have been in California, we've been building for California. Uh, that being said, we are happy to expand to other jurisdictions as well. Approve's already built out for like 5 or 6 other states his semantic search model. Um, but if you want someone for a different state, we're more than happy to do it. It's only going
Yeah.
to take us a few days to really get it up to speed. So if there's another state that anyone wants, again, please email us, let us know. We're happy to make it live I'd probably say within a week, because we do have to just test it a little bit to see if is it populating results from that particular state. But again, we're more than happy to do it, and we'd probably put a content filter on it, just like Westlaw does and Lexis does, where you can select a state or select multi-jurisdictions.
Fantastic. Any more questions? In the meantime, I will also add that you will be able to find the recording of this meeting on our portal of the Criminal Law and Justice Center under the portion for AI for Public Defenders. And we will also add there, Avneet, correct me if I'm wrong, but
Actually,
we have a document with questions and answers related to the technical aspects, the privacy, all the stuff that you need to know. We'll also have a document there living next to the recording so people can have easy access to everything they want to know about using the AI tool that Avneet and Approve built. Yeah.
just one quick thing I do want to say. I didn't mention this. Bias. We are actively training against bias. So we're incorporating. When I mean training, we're actively feeding it things to account for bias. And that's something that I'm passionate about, but Approver is even more passionate than me. And so that's why we're actively feeding it anything we can to make sure it accounts for uh, racial discrimination, gender discrimination, sexual discrimination, and everything like that. So I just wanted to put that out there. But thank you
Okay.
so much. Thank you, Devere.
Fantastic. So yes, the recording is live on our website. Another document with question and answers will be there. You're all welcome to go and look at all the other companies we have listed there, and we'll have another webinar with another company very soon. So thank you all for joining. And if you have questions, you can email us at the Criminal Law and Justice Center. Avneet, do you want to put the email for you guys in the chat maybe
Yes.
before we end the webinar? Awesome. Oh, that's just for us. Wait. Okay. A question about an email. No, we don't have an email newsletter, but we have all the updates live on the website, and maybe we will create an email newsletter in a second. Wait, so the email is shared right now to everyone. Okay. And thank you all for joining.
Thank you so much, everyone. Thank you. Thank you,
Thank
Yusuf Berkeley. Thank
you.
you, Devere.
Bye.